profile on NewZ Source.
Let's go.
I'm definitely scared about like us turning into Nazi Germany.
This shit is about survival.
Nazi Germany. Right.
I mean, that's a lot on it. And you know why? Like, because the exaggerations are out of control. And here's why. Because Trump was the president about 8 years ago. And I never felt like I was in Nazi Germany. I felt like I was on a path to getting what I wanted out of a president. So all of these mirage hallucinations that people are having about Trump, you can't play that game now because he was already the president before. And we were not in Nazi Germany, but whatever.
Remember what I was saying before about people dialing up the rhetoric?
Yep.
That's crazy. Wow.
For a lot of people.
He doesn't stand for women. He doesn't stand for people of color. So honestly, I think Trump being president, it just means
He doesn't stand for women because he wants women, when they get pregnant, to have their babies. Now, I do understand there are circumstances where that is debatable, but for the most part, he doesn't want women to use abortion as a contraceptive, especially since his group's numbers are dwindling. I can understand where he's coming from. My bad.
like the end of all of us having rights.
It's black people.
What do they think he's got? Like, that's... Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Like, the end of rights. Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
How do you believe this?
How?
Brain rot, yes.
White people, immigrants, that's all poor. That shit about everybody vote who was poor.
When was America ever great?
MAGA folks want to turn the clock back.
Now, I can agree with the statement that that guy just made. Let's play it again.
Everybody vote who was poor.
When was America ever great?
That right there. Because if you're black in America, that's a pretty good argument. Because it can't be great if this country has been oppressing one group for the most part, even up to this day. And you'll say, oh, well, you guys got LeBron James and you've got basketball players and football players. Oh, what about 50 Cent and Rick Ross? Yeah, those are the anomalies. If you look at the numbers, black people, and black men especially, are getting slaughtered in every category. Let us continue.
MAGA folks want to turn the clock back on certain things that aren't progressive that I'm not in support of. So
I feel like I have no words right now, to be honest.
And actually, I hate when black men talk about topics like, oh, what's happening in Palestine? Oh, the border. Black men, we have been having our own Holocaust for hundreds of years. And that is the one that we need to focus on. I'm sorry everybody else is having problems, but we got our own problems. And you know what? I might do an open letter to Trump. And I thought about this. And it's going to be called The Deal. And that is the deal that I'm going to speak for Black American people, but mostly Black American men. The deal that we need to be successful in this country. We need a deal, Trump. And you're the one that can do it. So I'm going to holler at you.
thinking, sir?
I'm not the biggest Kamala Harris fan. I'm not a fan of her stances on Palestine and her history as a prosecutor. But I feel like even among Black people, nobody was really that crazy about Kamala Harris. I know that a lot of my friends didn't vote because of that. They didn't vote because of the situation in Palestine. But we can't afford.
I think that probably cost them a lot. That probably cost them the most voters. Is like the fact that they were still like kind of trying to play positive with Israel. I think that cost them probably the largest amount of people, because
I disagree with that. Here's why. I think what costed the Democrats the most amount of people is, number one, they're full of it. I mean, if you look around, like, inflation is through the roof. That's one thing. Okay. Then the games that they play, like giving us Megan Thee Stallion and Glorilla and your girl Kamala Harris changing up her accent just like Hillary Clinton, and then Hillary pulling a bottle of hot sauce out of her pocket, and then Obama making white America $20 trillion richer when he left office, and he told Black people to forget about reparations, just go work hard. You know, it's a bunch of things that made them lose votes. And then Kamala, her last ditch efforts, talking about, oh yeah, we need to get Black men on board. And then she says she's going to make 1 million loans for $20,000 to Black men that are forgivable. Yo, we have always been on the back burner with the Democratic Party or with America, period. But I do think that Trump is radical enough that we can make some strides and take some steps forward, because he's a salesman and I'm in sales, and I do like the art of the deal. And I think that we have a better chance of making a deal with Trump as Black men than any other president that has ever been here before. So that's where I stand. If you don't like it, I don't care.
Because I saw on Twitter all the time, there were people that were posting when like the election happened. They were like, yeah, I just voted for Jill Stein, or like, I'm not voting for Kamala Harris because of like Palestine. No, it didn't. You're clueless. No,
I'm not voting for Mahala Karras, whatever her name is. I didn't vote for her because, yeah, everything I mentioned just a second ago, and I'm so sick of her fake freaking smile. I'm sick of the rabbit teeth smile that her and Hillary and Bill and Biden and Obama and Mrs. Obama put on, and they know they're not going to try to fight for anyone but themselves and white America. Okay? That's how I feel. That's how I feel. But let us digress.
really think that it had a huge impact. I really do. There's a lot of people that care about that issue. Twitter ain't real. I didn't say it lost the election for her, but I think that it definitely had a role to play. There's a lot of people that care about it, absolutely. And it's especially true, and here's the problem, is that the alignment of the people that care, there's been a lot of younger people and people that are like more progressive minded that care. And those are the same people that are like kind of the guaranteed voters. So like if you're losing your base on that level, you've got a huge problem.
The Trump presidency. So I'm nervous for what the future has to hold, but you know.
It doesn't mean that things can't get better. So I think the people are moving in one direction despite the fact the government may be moving in another direction. Yeah. And I always have faith in the people because
there's still laws intact. Like, this is still democracy. Yeah, no, the world is not going to go.
Thank God we have somebody who's not fucking crazy.
Okay, that's a great statement, but I have a question as I look at this picture. What type of a suit is this young man wearing? And where is the nearest barber so we can get him a fade? Because that right there is going against the American standards to walk around as a white male with hair like that.
Thank fucking God.
in
No, it ain't gonna be the end of the world.
Nope,
it's
she's
gonna be
gone.
the stop of the
Okay, that angle of his haircut is like really making me nauseous. Like, look at this part right here. Like, what's he got? And then this part, what's happening? I don't know. And I didn't even know people wore brown suits. I had no idea that that was a thing in 2024. But if it is, excuse me, I don't know any better, but I'm just not used to that color of a suit. But let us continue.
progression of some, and it's gonna be the spark of the progression of others that are already ahead.
All right, we are at Howard University.
He's kind of right about that.
Prestigious HBCU here in Washington, D.C.
So historically black college, right, just means historically black. It doesn't mean only black. Actually, historically black colleges are the only universities within the history of the U.S. that don't have a history of discriminating based on color, creed, culture. And it's really cool because it was founded by Union General Oliver Otis Howard, 1867. It was the daughters of those Union soldiers who were white women who were the first students.
Yeah. And Kamala Harris was supposed to deliver what appeared to be like an address to the nation or a victory speech at the amphitheater right here, but
You won't hear from.
This was bad. This was real bad.
I don't know what he's talking about, but I agree. Whatever he's about to say, I agree with it because Kamala Harris is bad. And she went to this HBCU. She conveniently claims that she's black, but she'll mostly say that she's Indian. And I believe she's disingenuous. She's married to a white man. And she said out of her own mouth, I will never do anything specifically for black people. I will do things that will benefit all Americans. Now, you can take that a couple of different ways, but I'm going to take it at the face value way. She ain't rocking with us.
Oh, man. Oh, my fucking God.
The vice president tonight.
seems like everybody's walking away at the same time. She currently has, I think, 210 electoral votes and Trump has 240, something like that. So spirits are pretty low. Hopes are definitely dwindling. So we're going to talk to a few people and see how they feel and why they left the speech.
It's not looking too hot right now. It's not over, but, you know, it's just... I don't feel like I want to go to school tomorrow. We're both PhD students, so I wanted to work at the Department of Education, big Republican.
It was a wrap. It's a wrap. It's over.
Real bad news on that one.
Yeah, it's over.
Oh, jeez.
It's over.
Oh.
You were like a week or two
Push
past
to
that.
get rid of that.
And I'm going to close the Department of Education and move education back to the states.
For the uninformed
Okay, no
viewer,
doubt.
like, what's their motif behind, you know, taking away the elements of the Department of Education?
I think they think it's like a waste of money and resources.
What do you study, man?
I study U.S. history.
What's your favorite chapter of U.S. history?
I guess what most people consider like the Gilded Age and Progressive Era. So that's like between 1877 and like maybe like 1919, if I guess I had to periodize it.
So Reconstruction.
Well, Reconstruction is before that. That's 1865 to 77, and then the Gilded Age and Progressive Era is right after that.
And there was the era of terror inflicted after Reconstruction, wasn't there?
Yeah, so that's why I said it's known by most people as the Gilded Age and Progressive Era, but honestly, I study African American history. That's my specialty, and that's considered the nadir of.
Okay, you know what? Because I was about to get on him, but now that he said that, I like that. I like that. Because I was about to jump in your donkey. But now that you said that, I like that. Because that's where the focus for black men needs to be. And if you don't like what I'm saying, then don't listen to me. But if you do, then feel what I'm saying. Okay, being a black male in America of a certain age, I have lived in long enough to know that I can't fight the fight for other people like the Palestinians. Like, I can empathize. Because you know what? I even did a video about it. Like, I think it's wrong what is happening to them. And I don't want to be insensitive, but I mean, that's a fight. And I don't even know if they can fight it on their own, but they're going to need something or someone to help them fight that fight, right? But I know they don't care about my fight. And that is being in America with the lineage of slavery, trying to make it in America where most white people in America can't make it in America right now. So how would you think, or I think, that most black people can make it in America when we've pretty much been priced out the game? Because that's where we're at, right? I empathize with Palestine. I have my own viewpoints on Israel. But I like what the young man said. So let us continue.
American race relations, and that's like the darkest period of like race relations in American history.
Yeah,
because the South Carolina State Senate was like what, half black in 1880.
Yeah,
people don't
during
understand
Reconstruction.
that.
1880? What the fuck? I didn't even know that. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
so, what do you think is the most important element of U.S. history to teach young people? Black
He's
or white?
hyped about the history. Smile. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's awesome.
I think it's that U.S. history is not centered around a bunch of great men like the presidents. You know, there's a lot more grassroots history, like history of the people, and you know, it's not just say like learning about like white people. It's everybody, Native Americans, African Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans. Like all those stories matter. Like you got to understand all of it, and you really won't know the history of the country if you're not familiar with any of that.
I think that
that's
the
true.
slogan
Yeah, he's
"Make
right.
America Great Again" calls into question as it relates to people of African descent throughout the diaspora. When was America ever great?
Yeah.
Determine.
Amen. He took the words out of my pie hole. Okay, now he looks like he might be on some Muslim Farrakhan stuff with the bow tie, the suit. I like the yellow little handkerchief, whatever, and the bow tie, but let's hear what he's got to say.
I mean, what was the time frame that you would recollect that there was actually equal opportunity that was provided to all? And so
Okay, so there we go. So I'm going to expound on that a little bit. So basically, since black males or black people in general have a legacy of slavery for 400 years, and before you cut me off, hear me out. I know you wouldn't just, oh, yeah, I didn't do it to you, so, what's the problem? Don't blame it on me. No, understand where you are at in America. So all of the major times of wealth building, the majority of them, for those 400 years that black people were in slavery, and even through Jim Crow, which I am one generation removed from Jim Crow, we were locked out of the major wealth building times. So essentially, you get a 400-year head start, and then we supposedly get rights in the 60s. Was it 1964 or 68? One of them. And then you want to say, oh, we're all equal after you guys own everything. You control 98% of the land and 90% of the money. And the last time I checked the scoreboard, it's 130 trillion to white America and 6.5 trillion to black America. Now tell me that we're equal. You can't, okay? But I'm just making my comment on this video because I'm doing a reaction to the video, but that's how I feel about what this man just said. But let us continue.
I think if you're looking at the Reconstruction period, which was then followed by the Black Codes, whatever gains that occurred during the Reconstruction will eventually reverse.
You feel like America was great during Reconstruction?
I think that if you move a knife from 7 inches out of my back to 5 inches out of my back, and then consider that to be progress, I don't think that's actually progress.
That's a really good, I'm going to be honest. I think that's a really good answer.
white boy even agrees with me. Yeah, the knife is still in my back. And he agrees. And you know what? And I like honest people. I like this white guy. I just came across this video, and I think he's fair from what I've heard so far, but let's see.
Yeah.
This is actually trying to heal the wound.
Yeah. I like, you know what I like? I like people that you don't necessarily have to keep it real all the time. But when the moment of truth happens and we're having honest conversations, then that's the time to be real and to tell the truth. And let's check him out again.
Yeah.
This is actually trying to heal the wound.
The reason that I continually bring up the Reconstruction period is because that was the last time the U.S. actually attempted to implement a federal reparations program, not like the Uhuru-style interpersonal $5 donation model.
Can I have $5?
Are you serious?
Yes.
But administered by a governmental organization called Freedmen's Bureau, which no longer exists. Reconstruction basically began the same day the Confederate Army lost the Civil War to the Union, giving the federal government control over the southern states, where approximately 4 million slaves had just been freed. The Freedmen's Bureau was tasked with helping them integrate into society.
And let me say something about that, okay? And I'm not the greatest historian on anyone's history, but I do know this. When the slaves were freed, whatever year that was that happened, and he just said 4 million slaves. You know what most of the slaves did? They said, okay, we're free. They packed up their stuff. They said, oh, we are free. We're getting out of here. They walked to the end of the driveway of whatever plantation they were on. Or maybe some of them fled to the north. I don't know. But I know a lot of them walked to the end of the driveway where they were, and they said, where are we going to go? We don't have anything. We don't know anyone. This is all we know. And then they walked back to Massa. And their involuntary slavery became voluntary slavery. Just repackaged and remarketed in a different name. Okay? So, the folks that look like me got double and triple jeopardy no matter what moves they made. It all things led back to Massa. Okay? And then for that to happen for 400 years, and then to go into Jim Crow, which basically is you're segregated and locked out of mainstream society. You're a second-class citizen. You're getting water hosed and dogs sicked on you, and you can't go to good schools and get all the secondhand stuff. You're treated pretty much like you're still a slave, just with a tidbit more humanity. You know what? I just had a thought. White America has been insane and has not been diagnosed with their insanity. This is insane. This behavior. Okay, and now it's not as overt, but if you look at the details, the racism isn't the money and the ownership of property and corporations and anything else that you could think of that you could own. That's where it's at. But the presentation is a little bit more palatable than it was years ago. But anyway, let me get off of my diatribe.
Society as free men, which obviously would be quite difficult given the fact that none of them had any land or any possessions. So they began by giving the men voting rights and enacting their famous 40 acres and a mule allotment to newly.
That's one thing that people might not know is that black guys got a chance to vote before white women did, and women in general did. Yeah.
Okay, white boy. I don't. What does that mean? Maybe he's going to expound upon that. What does that mean?
Like, I remember reading that and learning that in school. I was like, damn, really?
Emancipated slaves. By 1870.
So does that mean that we were the second in power? Because as I recall, the only black president that we had was Obama. And he was a 40-something president, but he wasn't really all black because he was part white and African. So he wasn't from the lineage of the slaves of America. So I don't know what you meant by that, but you know what? I'm gonna let you could have that. That ain't even what I'm mad at.
75 in states like South Carolina, there was actually a higher proportion of black lawmakers holding office than there is today. And for a moment, it looked as if things were heading in a positive direction. But then a small group of former Confederate soldiers who had formed a social club in Tennessee had an idea. That idea
Social club? Is that what they call it?
was to target, terrorize, harass, lynch, and assassinate black politicians and anyone.
Is he talking about the Klan? And that looks like the pillowcase rapper right there. Is that the pillowcase rapper? I don't know. But I think is he talking about the Klan? Let's see.
Black or white, who even considered voting for them. This group was
and
called—
you see why obviously this happened, right? Is that I personally think that this is the super toxic, mega corrosive racism, where like these people are seeing, you know, these black guys who they're like, oh, well, these people are supposed to be slaves, and now they're like doing better than I am. And instead of looking at themselves, they look at them and they use them as the villain. That's what happens. It's because of power. Yeah, absolutely.
So are you saying that that's racism? I guess that is a part of it back then. But now it is systemic and structural. And it can be happening by policies that are passed and laws that are made, and by things in society that are considered like steering, like real estate, or like where you put the airports at in the black neighborhoods. I don't know. I'm just talking ish.
the KKK, whose plan was made possible during the 1870s.
He is talking about the KKK. Let's go.
76 primaries.
That's a low IQ take. If you really think that that's not exactly what happened, I don't know what to say.
Okay.
I feel like it's so obvious.
Oh, okay. I like that.
This is exactly what happened. Yeah, it's still happening now.
I like
it. Happens all the time.
You know what? I like people that rock with the truth. And I don't know your name, white boy. I'm going to put the link to your channel in the description box. And I'm not looking for a pity party because that doesn't help anybody, right? But I do like when people say the truth, and whether people like you or hate you, you stand on that. And you got 2 million subscribers, and all 2 million of them have access to this video. And whoever listens to it that are your subscribers, they're going to hear you telling the truth. And you know what? I like that. I don't know why I like that. I like that. I like the truth. Okay. And that's why I think a lot of people left the Democratic Party, because they are just a group of liars and game players. Okay. And Trump, whether you like him or not, he's going to tell you how he feels. He's got diarrhea at the mouth, and he's going to say things that you don't like or that you do like. But whichever way it is, you get a sense that this man is speaking his truth versus people that give you Megan the Stallion and pull bottles of hot sauce out of their bag and go to places where black people or southern people or people in Michigan are and start changing their accents because they think that it's a game like a lot of bad little girls play in this land or around the world. A lot of bad men and women play a game where they think that they can insult your intelligence and you're going to accept that. Anyway, let us continue.
Like the majority of race conflict is in a lot of cases a metaphor for a class conflict.
Yes.
I think in most cases it usually ends up turning into that.
But it started out as a race conflict, and you said that. Now it has, I think, transformed into class, but still race, because in America, white people own and control pretty much everything. So you're telling your truth from your perspective, right? I get that. But the real truth when you look at the numbers is white people own and control everything in America. And black people, we got some crumbs, and we got a few of us that make it look good. It makes it look like it's more than what it is. No, the majority of black people, we're getting our double dollar sign kicked. That's what's happening. But anyway, let us continue.
In which, for whatever reason,
Even
the
now.
Freedmen's Bureau decided to withdraw troops from polling stations in the South, where they'd previously been protecting black voters from racial violence. The day the Bureau pulled the troops, the Klan put their plan into motion, and everyone knows what they did. I don't find it necessary to bring up individual instances of grotesque violence for dramatic effect or anything like that, but it's important to note that the original purpose of the Klan was to terrify.
And the Klan, we're not even gonna really go deep into that. But those were domestic terrorists. But what I will say in 2024, I don't even know if they still exist. Maybe, but that's kind of like smoking a Newport cigarette. Like, who does that anymore? I mean, probably that people do, but who do people even smoke regular cigarettes anymore? Like, oh my God. Where I have, you know what, in Forsyth County, and I live in Atlanta, in Georgia, that used to be like a Klan territory, and they're even out of there. So, hey, I don't know. Let's continue.
Black voters into staying home during election day and to run black politicians out of town with threats of violence. And it worked. By the elections of 1878, there was almost no black voters in Georgia, despite them composing a third of the state's population.
Jesus.
And it's been undoubtedly proven by now that the then Democrat parties in states like Mississippi and Louisiana actually hired the Klan to terrorize black voters. And so
Jesus.
True. Yeah.
I didn't even know that. What the fuck?
That's your folk, Cole. That's your folk. Well, I don't want to say that because they probably are not related to him, but he's a white. So I'm just making a joke. But yeah, it happened, homie. It happened.
Genocide? Yeah, that's bad, bro. Like, it's real bad.
Yeah.
So by 1880,
This is real
Reconstruction
racism?
was
Yeah,
over.
see.
Hey, it's so bad at one point. Okay. I'm going to try to be sensitive when I say this. So there was a certain group of Caucasian people in America that used to cut off the private parts of African people in America. I don't want to say African American because they were Africans who were in America. So Africans that were in America, they would cut off their private parts and stick them in a jar and sit them in the windows of their storefronts like souvenirs. And there were also people in Florida that would use young black babies as alligator bait. So they would set the little black babies on the edge of the water to lure the alligators out of the water. And then once those alligators attack the little black babies, then they would attack the alligator and kill it for its meat and its skin. And there's a museum that a black man put together to remember these little black babies. And I think it's disgusting. I know you had nothing to do with that. But that's some really dirt bomb stuff anyway.
This is the thing, is I wish more people knew about this. Like, I didn't know a lot of these details, but I mean, man, history they never teach. Yeah, it's like this shit is actually so bad.
The Freedmen's Bureau closed.
It's super horrible. And you know what? I like you, dude. Like, I like your energy. I think you're like in shock from hearing this stuff, right? But yeah, it got really trill.
Every state in the South was under neo-Confederate leadership, who swiftly passed something.
This is another component that a lot of people might not know. Sorry, I keep pausing. Is that a lot of the statues of like Confederate leaders and like, you know, things that are like monuments to Confederacy, it's not like they happened right after the Civil War. It happened way later on. And some of them were put up as recently as like 1950.
Okay, yeah.
The Black Codes, which limited Black Americans' ability to own property, conduct business, own firearms.
Okay, and so that goes back to what I was saying about how when the 400 years of slavery and Jim Crow, Black people were locked out of the wealth building opportunities in America. Henceforth, white people own right now 98% of the land and control 90% of the money, and I think that it's even more right now. But let us proceed.
And travel freely. It also enforced strict sundown laws related to vagrancy, which set the foundation for chain gangs, forced labor camps.
Sundown is that there's not any black people allowed in the town when the sun is down.
And incidentally, Forsyth County that I just mentioned a little while ago, that was a sundown town. They used to have a sign out there in the 80s, and Al Sharpton, I'll give him that. He went out there and he marched against it, but the sign said, "Don't let the sun set on you, ninja." You get what I'm saying, right? And that was right here in Georgia, up the Georgia 400, which I used to frequent every day for years. Okay, let's go.
In case anybody doesn't know, because he didn't say.
And the prison industrial complex. While the federal government was initially horrified at the unraveling of Reconstruction in the southern states, they would ultimately side with them in 1902 during Plessy versus Ferguson, defending segregation under the dubious separate but equal premise. The following 60-plus years are referred to as the Jim Crow era, which officially ended in 1964 with.
And that's what I talked about, the Jim Crow era, which happened right after slavery. Let's listen.
The Civil Rights Act was passed.
Lyndon Johnson.
This Civil Rights Act is a challenge to all of us to eliminate the last vestiges of injustice in our beloved country.
For some perspective, that means that the average current 22-year-old Black American's grandmother or grandfather was in 8th grade when Jim Crow formally ended in 64.
And I just said that I am one generation removed from Jim Crow. My oldest brother was in Jim Crow. That's actually shocking for me to say that. Good God.
My dad remembers, he said that the water fountains, whenever he was a kid, he's 76. This is in Florida.
And my brother, 73.
Right? It said white gentlemen and black men and white ladies and black women. He remembers that. It's my dad.
Now, what type of psychological destruction did that give to black people? And what type of psychological upliftment did that give to white people? Because really, everything is psychology, right? The way that your brain is interpreting the information in front of you and how it's being delivered and what the meaning of it is. And I need to get deeper. You know, I'm going to take a psychology class because that's what is the net takeaway from that demarcation or that line of separation? White gentleman and black man. What does that mean? And what is the programming that happens? Whatever.
So the legacy of Jim Crow and the unkept promise of Reconstruction.
Hold up.
So the legacy.
Look at that. Colored and white. Yeah, that's that peanut butter and jelly stuff right there. You got us in a sticky situation right there. Yeah. Okay.
Legacy of Jim Crow and the unkept promise of Reconstruction.
He said that the old racist white ladies would hit him with like parasols and shit for drinking out of the colored fountain.
Wow.
Straight up. Because he's like, oh, well, you know, it's like easier, like there's somebody at the white one, so I'm going to go to this one instead. They troll them? Yeah, I know. It's insane.
Of Jim Crow and the unkept promise of Reconstruction is still something that's very much alive.
And the destruction of different levels of what we consider successful black towns and cities, in which they use the highway bill to be able to cut through and destroy those particular communities.
You believe in modern reparations?
I definitely believe in reparations. I think that it's something that's owed, just as there's been reparations paid to other groups, whether it be the Japanese who were interned during World War II, whether it be levels of monies that were provided to people who are Jewish during the Holocaust.
I don't think they're going to be able to do, like, the thing is that the reason why the reparations worked for like Japanese internment camps is because it happened to the people that were explicitly put in the internment camps. And since a lot of this stuff is like really old, and the people that are alive now generally were not the actual recipients of the discrimination, that's probably not going to happen.
I disagree. And no offense to you, homie, white boy, I don't know your name, but that's the excuse that white America will use to try to act like what happened didn't happen, so there's no retribution. But I disagree, and that's why I think Trump is radical enough to do a deal and get it done. Because all that right there, that's just rhetoric. Oh, because the people alive in the internments were, they were there and the black people didn't. No, we can look at the effects of those 400 years right now and how they have affected white America and black America. And that is all you need to know. And I'm so sick of people saying, oh, well, we need to study that. Like Kamala said that, or Kamala said that, and then Biden said that in his term when he first got elected and before, and he was the person that was the author of the crime bill. No, you guys know what the deal is, okay? So all that's rhetoric and saying that, we can't do it because those are excuses. All right, so now I'm gonna sound like a drug dealer on the street trying to meet the plug, and I need to see your boss. I don't want to talk to you. I need to talk to your boss, okay? And we need to make a deal or else ain't nothing else moving in the streets. I know I'm exaggerating there, right? But I'm just trying to do that for dramatic effect. What I'm saying is, Trump can get the deal started. The evidence is before everyone, and that's that. So anyway, let's continue.
Yeah,
I think there's always
it's too late.
a need to provide some level of reparation.
It's not too late.
When harm has been done. The question would be, what might be the right way and process to do that?
Well, I mean, if it was to be distributed on an individual level, that calls into question also financial literacy among the recipients. Because
I think that it was done systemically.
Yeah.
And so you need a systemic policy to address systemic racism and discrimination.
Yes. Would that look like more educational investment?
I think education investment would definitely be a key component of it.
I think that's the main component personally. Don't give a man a fish, teach a man to fish. I think that's the reality.
But how, okay. Don't give a man a fish, teach a man to fish. But when slavery happened, you stole the man and made him do the fishing for you, forced. Okay, and then you forced his kids and their descendants to do the fishing for you, and he profited nothing, and you got all of the reward. So that part right there, white boy, I think you got it confused. You're confused right now, okay, because it's not the same thing. No, you guys made the man fish, then you stole his fish, and then you told him he could eat the bones off of the fish that you spit out. And he had to build his life off the bones. And if he didn't cooperate, you just blow his brains out, or you would just hang him. So that's not the same thing, my friend. Okay? But I like you. I think you kind of understand what you're talking about, but probably not really. But you know what? I'm going to hit you up to see if we can do a little interview because, yeah, I am actually reacting to your video. Thank God I did because I need I need to set the record straight, but let's listen.
Teach people and you educate them, then they can take care of themselves.
Oh, but your people didn't teach people and educate them. Your people took people and forced them into slavery and made them work for free for 400 years. That's not the same thing, white boy. It's not the same thing. And I really dislike when people talk this way and they try to minimize what the situation is, trying to act like 400 years of forced free labor is not what it is. That means you were able to build America off of 400 years of free labor, and that propelled America to be the most powerful country on planet Earth. Prove me wrong.
That's what I would say.
It's not what I would say.
I think that we're at this particular juncture, there's additional levels of discussions that is still being.
Okay, I know I keep interrupting, right? But I think that a lot of white people suffer from denial because they don't really want to acknowledge the truth of this situation. And that is what I just said. Because America had a 400-year head start of free labor off of black people who were kidnapped and stolen from their land as their seed capital, they were able to become the most powerful country on planet Earth. Tell me I'm lying in the comments. Leave me a comment, or if you want to come on my show and debate this, you can do it. But that's the facts. I know you don't like it. You don't want to be labeled as your group being a cheater. Yeah, well, your group cheated. I mean, but that's life, right? I get that part. But let's tell it like it is, okay?
Being ongoing about the fact that it's needed. And to me, unequivocally, it is not only needed, but it is owed. Yeah. And subsequently, we just have to get to a place to be able to.
Now, is it owed here's what I will say. I do like the idea of reparations. But if somebody kicks your a double dollar sign and you can't stop them from doing that, do you really owe them? And that's just me being objective and being honest, right? Now, the charitable thing to do is if you kick someone's a double dollar sign, you say, hey, you know what, man, I was wrong for that. Here you go. Now, will the universe make you do that? As far as I can tell, no. You know what? I remember I was watching like this National Geographic thing on like animals, whatever. And I saw this was so it put it into perspective for me. So there's like two sides to every coin, right? So here's the other side. Yeah, whatever white people did was wrong, right? But here's the other side. So I remember I saw this impala, and actually I've been to Africa twice, and I was on the safari trip, and I saw impala in person. But I saw this in a National Geographic show, and I saw this impala had given birth to a newborn beautiful calf, and the calf stood up, you know, because in nature, in that type of nature, like with animals and the safari, like you have to be ready to run at all times. So I remember, like, you know, actually it didn't stand up. So it was coming out of the mother. And this lion walked up to the mother with the calf coming out. And she, or it, I think it was a male. It was a male. It had a mane. It pulled the calf impala out of the mama. And it just held it in its mouth. And then it sat down and it just looked around as if to say, who's going to stop me? And I remember seeing it looked like it was the father of the baby. And it was standing like maybe 30, 40, 50 yards away. And it was just looking at the lion with the newborn calf in its mouth. And you know what it did? Nothing. There was nothing it could do. And the mother, and I know this is like, it's kind of wild. I mean, literally, no pun intended, right? But the mother, she like just stood up and she had just given birth. So I know she was in pain, but she stood up as if to say, like, what are you doing to the lion? And the lion just sat down with the calf in its mouth, and no one did anything. And then the lion ate it in front of the mother and father. So I tell this story just to say, maybe that's the nature, not just of animals, but humanity. Like, if you can't protect your situation as a human, and you can look at Israel and Palestine, or you can look at Russia and Ukraine, or you can look at black people that were kidnapped and stolen from Africa and brought here to be slaves. What nature says, in my opinion, is if you can't protect your situation, you know what, my friend? It is hammer time. And Mother Nature doesn't care, and no one else cares. And if you ain't got nukes, and that's literally and figuratively, if you ain't got no nukes to protect your situation, and in that case of the lion and the impala, the lion had the nuke. His strong jaws and his strong paws. If you ain't got no nukes, it's hammer time. So then if we flip it back to the reparations thing, does white America really owe black people reparations? So I'm going to say, you be the judge. If nature's going to be what gives us some type of qualification for the answer, I'm not even going to say. But anyway, I'm sorry. I went on my diatribe. Let's continue.
Figure out what might be the best ways to be able to implement it.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I think that if it was going to happen, it would have happened 100 years ago.
And that could be a nuke.
Like, it's just too far back from, like, a lot of the history of what happened. There's no way it's going to happen now.
And the reason why that could be a nuke in the words of this rapper Styles P. And I don't really curse, but I'm going to try to say this without cursing. He said, I'll blow the L with you. Go to L with you. Meaning HE double hockey sticks. He said, but I'm quick to tell a ninja suck ick and get a Glock. Meaning, if you ain't got no nuke, then what you... Don't even talk to me. Because I got the nuke. And for what that means for you is hammer time if you come trying to get anything from me. Even if I took it from you. If you ain't got no nuke, what are you talking about? Because I'll set it off in here, and then what? Anyway.
I agree, man. I appreciate you from the south or the east coast.
Pardon me?
From the south.
From the East Coast.
Okay, great.
What's
man.
your name?
Andrew Gallahan.
Give me a thing.
It's and just like if you look up Channel
Give me a
5.
second. I'll have you write it down.
Yeah.
How about that?
What's up, guys? Here at Channel 5, we want you to be safe, whether it be on the streets
a
of Washington,
VPN ad.
D.C. during the election.
Yo, this cat right here has got an ill dress code. I do like the throwback Nikes, but yeah. You know what? He actually kind of reminds me of a Jersey cat. But anyway.
It's a
Or just
VPN
surfing
ad.
the
it's
web
an ad for a
from your
VPN.
phone or on the
It's
computer.
There.
That's why we use NordVPN.
You
NordVPN
know
allows
it.
to
I
set
know
your
it.
IP address
Everybody
to any
knew it was
country
going to
on Earth.
happen.
And we know that in many countries, the government controls the flow of information on the internet. So you can set your IP address to various countries throughout the world, such as Venezuela, or Poland, or Argentina, or El Salvador, or South Africa, or Kazakhstan. And you can see what it's like to surf the web as a person who lives in that country and is inside their data chamber.
Oh, boy.
You're in there. NordVPN does so many things, but one of my favorite features they have is their threat protection, which allows you to safeguard your personal files and make sure they don't get taken by sketchy hackers and people who distribute
What's my
malware
favorite
to trick
VPN?
you out your hard drive files. And I have more great news.
Unironically, it's
NordVPN's having a
NordVPN.
massive Black Friday sale. So if you want to
Yeah.
use my link,
Actually, yeah.
www.nordvpn.com/channel5,
My favorite
you can
one.
get a huge discount on a 2-year plan plus 4 free additional months.
Use VPN?
Guess what?
Okay.
If you don't
I
like
have
it,
before.
there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. Again, just go to www.nordvpn.com/channel5.
I'm just saying, right? You
I'm
if you
gonna put
ask
the
me a
link in the
question,
description
it's the
and
answer.
pinned comment. All right, guys.
Don't get mad at me.
Back to the streets.
As I walked through the Kamala Harris rally, most people had accepted that she probably wouldn't win the presidency.
I'm really disappointed because I didn't have
Rally, most people had accepted that
Bro, you can tell she's accepted it. Yeah, bro, like that's it's not good.
She is not feeling that defeat. Like she looks like she's ready to get with the ish. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, baby. Hey, I didn't do it to you. It is what it is.
She probably wouldn't win the presidency.
I'm really disappointed because I didn't have enough time to register because Texas, you have to register before 3 weeks before. So I had to vote as a DC resident.
But still, some people held on to a sliver of hope.
Hey, we're coming back.
We're down 20.
We're down 20. We're down 20.
It's 210, 230. We almost back.
We down 20.
Look. Kamala, she needs to win Wisconsin.
My parlay so
It's over, homie. It was over before it started. So what you were doing is you're wishing on a star, but that star is a quasar, and it is about to explode because it's a nothing burger. Your girl is not winning. I'm sorry.
Pennsylvania, Georgia.
Did you hear what he just said?
Yeah.
Oh, she needs to win Wisconsin,
my parlay so
Pennsylvania.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Got it.
Georgia and maybe Michigan, and we're in there.
It's crazy how much betting is
Nevada
now.
or
It's
AZ.
But hold up. Yeah, so I guess the supporters of Mamala wear their pants like this, like hanging off their butt. To his admiration, that's kind of a fly fit. I mean, I wouldn't rock that. But you know what though? He put the H on his chest with the red H, you know what I'm saying, with the white sweatshirt, whatever that says. I don't know what that says, the Marcos or whatever, the Mecca. And then he's got the white and red kicks, right? Okay. Then he's got the light blue jeans or whatever that is that acid wash, whatever. Then he's got the little blue trim of his boxers. You know, so he was trying to be coordinated. I mean, I could dig it. But and then to the brown boy's point here, this cat, he's got a brown hat. So maybe that's like a fashion that I don't know about. But whatever, it's all good. And then they're blacked out, hem and hem. So you got the blacked out, the white and the red and the brown and the brown. With a red tie here on his chest and a red H. You know what? Maybe they're a gang. And he's niked out, and he's niked out, and I assume he's niked out. And this is a street gang. And Trump's got something for all of you guys. Let's continue.
Maybe Michigan, and we're in
It's
there.
It's crazy
Nobody
how
give no
much
fuck
betting
about
is
Nevada
now.
or
It's
AZ.
so popular.
Arizona. Fuck all that shit. We respect the people out there,
Yeah.
but nah, like this is what matters. It's about what matters right now. We've been out here stressing all night.
Minus 700K.
Yeah. Like, we out here, but nah, look, I don't enjoy what Trump did to the Central Five.
He spent $85,000 on a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for execution.
Any three of us could have been a Central Five in Manhattan. If that's how you gonna represent a large portion of America, I can't get behind that because that's the demographic that I'm a part.
You know, and I'm going to say this about that. Yeah, Trump spent $85,000, whatever, to put an ad. I had one of my friends or ex-friends tell me that Trump doing that was just as bad as Biden spearheading the crime bill, which locked up more black people than any other group with long sentences. And he tried to equate a bill that Biden spearheaded that brought to the floor of the Congress, okay, had Hillary rocking with it, and I'm sure her husband was rocking with it, but Biden was rocking with it, and I guess that means the Democratic Party was rocking with it, and Kamala did her part for effing over black men. But my ex-friend wanted to tell me that Trump, what he did was the same thing. I disagree. And I think people on the left are out of their minds because he's a leftist. And you know what? I'm not saying the right is the best thing since sliced bread, but the left is so far removed from reality, I don't think they could catch a spaceship to come back. Good God.
So you feel like on a moral character level, he's just bogus?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Everything Trump stands for, he doesn't stand for women. He doesn't stand for people of color. So honestly, I think Trump being president, it just means like the end of all.
Trump told black people, and yeah, I know it was at the end of his election. But not even that. He actually created a bill to free people from the crime bill that Biden enacted, and Hillary. And mostly black people benefited from that. But then also, he told black people after he talked to Ice Cube, come talk to me. And then he put together the Platinum Plan. And what did black people say? We don't want to talk to him. And that was the last election. But now, a lot of black people have switched sides, namely black men. So, young lady, what are you talking about?
All of us having rights and being seen as human beings.
Good
and I feel
God.
God. I think that might be a bit much.
It's a bit much.
Maybe it's just like a little bit much.
A bit much.
That's just a.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a bit. That's a lot.
It's a lot. That's a lot.
It's a bit dramatic. Yeah. It's a bit
with
dramatic.
Harris as president, she her goal is to see everyone as people and help everyone.
When it comes to voting for the
what?
Her goal is to see everyone as people and help everyone.
When it comes.
Are you kidding me? The same Kamala that said she would never do anything for black people specifically, but she will do things for all people in America. And then she also says she understands the disparities and how black people were held back for many, many years, but she will never do anything. Are you kidding me? Okay, I'm just going to continue to y'all. The Crips is delusional. I'm rocking with the Bloods because the Crips, y'all are delusional.
To voting for the president, right? You're voting for someone who's going to select the heads of the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Commerce.
Yeah.
And I believe that, especially with her, she would choose more qualified individuals.
I think as we get even closer and closer to like the end of the timeline and within which we can change the effects of climate change, another 4 years of Trump as president would be horrible for that. It would be horrible for the Middle East. It would be horrible for...
Hold on. Do y'all see this white boy? Hold up. You know what I take his look as to mean? And don't get upset when I say this. It almost is like, Ninja, do you know where you're at? Oh, you think you're included in this? you think you like me? You're talking all intellectually. You got your little progressive glasses on, your little ice in your ear, your little afro, but it's like almost that afro is like saying, I'm not all the way black. I'm just trying to like differentiate myself. I don't even have a fresh lineup, so I'm not all the way black. And I talk really intelligent, but he's like, oh, so you think you're like me? Ninja, do you know you're not? Oh, you don't even know that. You don't know that you're not like me. Oh, but you think you're like me. Oh, okay, cool. And then he's even got his little red fake afro, whatever. But he's got the smirk on his face, like you don't even know what's happening around you. You don't know where you're at. In the words of 50, Do you know where you're at? You don't. And let's hear the diarrhea of the mouth again. Let's go.
Another 4 years of Trump as president would be horrible for that. It would be horrible for the Middle East. It would be horrible for women's rights, for protections for the LGBTQI. I don't think a Harris presidency would be perfect, but I think in every way possible, it would be better than.
And he wants to sound so intellectual. And she's like, yeah, preach. She's like, yeah, church. And he's like, dude, I'm just trying to get this interview for content because you obviously don't know where you're at. And actually, I don't care if you know where you're at. But this guy is so sinister. He's like shaking his head like, yeah. But you don't even know where you're at, dude. Ooh.
Trump.
And that's the
I
whole
think that's the reason, one of the reasons why she lost is that everybody basically went into it assuming that it wouldn't be good. It would.
Look how she's looking at the black man. She's like, fool, you don't even know where you at. And I'll look like you. But I'm going to play the game with you because I know where I'm at, but you don't know where you're at. And everything that I'm doing is a strategy against you. And then he's looking like, yeah, just keep talking. This is good fodder for the camera. Because all I want is to get you on camera so I can post as a content. I want this to be good content, but you don't even know where you're at. But what's even worse about me is I don't care if you know where you're at. Look at this. And he's being so open and honest with diarrhea at the mouth. My God.
Would just be okay. I think that's a big reason. People didn't have like any real enthusiasm about it. They were just like, this is the next best thing.
issue. I feel like even among black people, nobody was really that crazy about Kamala Harris, but it was just the fact that she was not Trump. And at the end of the day, you can't really run on being.
You see the politics in her. She's like, yeah, whatever you say, ninja boy. We on camera. I'm gonna get my attention, and I'm shaking my head because I don't care what you're saying, but we're on camera. I don't even know if a lot of men or black men or just men in general understand the mind of the female. I know I didn't for a long time. Hell, I still don't. But she's thinking, I gotta look agreeable on camera. So you know what it really is though? And this is what has helped me to kind of move forward in life, past my traumas, past the bad times, and past me making mistakes and my regrets. You know what you have to realize, people? I'm talking to the men, black men especially, but men in general, right? So here's what you got to realize. And this is what a lot of us men don't realize because we are so logical and we're not as emotional. But your girl right here, she understands that she's in a game. In the game of life. And there's no emotion. And at all times, but especially when she's on camera, she's got to play the game. And he's speaking from the heart. But he doesn't care about that. And he knows he's in the game, but he's on the right side of the game. He's with the people who are in power. But he's going to get what he needs. He's going to be polite. But she's just going to be agreeable. And he's speaking his heart, and that's where we mess up. But anyway.
Not Trump. You have to be more than that. You have to do more for everybody, not just black people, but everybody in general. Class issues matter a lot more, and people don't talk about class issues. People don't talk about imperialism. There's a lot of stuff.
Diarrhea of the mouth. I've had that problem too.
Fucking based. Absolutely fucking based. Thank God. Yep.
people don't talk about, and they focus on the culture wars. But the culture is still very important.
I don't know what he meant by base, but it sounded good.
Me coming from like a Caribbean community, I'm really worried about like how people are gonna attack the Haitian community going forward. I really don't like it.
Oh my god, bro! Like that cats and dogs shit. Oh my god.
And he keeps on talking. Diary of the mouth. Shut up, boy.
In my opinion, I think that was the dumbest part of the election. That was the dumbest part. Like, that was the one part that I just thought was so fucking stupid. It was the highlight. I think it might have been the best meme, but it was the dumbest, like, actual, like, sure, right? But like, the reason why it's a meme is because it's funny that it's stupid. It was hilarious. Yeah. Wait, people are laughing at it.
Yeah. The cats and dogs shit is bullshit. You know, we all know it's lies, but
bullshit, yeah.
regardless of who would have won, our country.
Shut your ninja mouth. You see, your girl ain't said a word yet. Let's go.
We still would have been in crisis, and especially what's going on abroad in Palestine, in the Middle East. Things would have not have been all well and good, but at the same time, with a Trump presidency, it makes it so much worse.
Jesus Christ.
But like I said, if Kamala had won, it still not would have been like an amazing outcome.
How much do you think the Biden administration's policy on Israel affected the current outcome today?
I definitely think that Kamala Harris capitulating to right-wing framework on issues is really what alienated people like the people that we know who were.
So she's saying the same thing I did.
Okay, so now she starts running her ninja mouth. She's got the eyelashes popping and the nose ring. So you know what? Now she's making the most of her camera time. Maybe I was wrong, but let's listen.
She said the same fucking thing. That's crazy, huh? How about that?
Just like, absolutely not. I'm not gonna, like, what are you talking about? You're gonna finish the wall. Like, it just doesn't make sense. What are you talking about? We have to tolerate lower grocery prices for a genocide in Palestine.
I know that a lot of my friends did.
You know what's interesting is that both him and her, like if you just close your eyes and didn't look at them, you would think that they were white people. It's just interesting. Hey, maybe people think when they listen to me, I'm a white person. Well, maybe I am. Or maybe I'm not. It's none of your beeswax.
Didn't vote because of the situation in Palestine. I personally,
I love being. Oh man.
You love being what? What were you gonna say?
Oh shit! Oh shit! How about that? Damn, bro. Woo! This couple, yeah. Wow. I love how people just won't. People see the writing on the wall and they just want to turn around. They don't want to look at it.
I think it was still worth it to vote.
Like, Trump presidency's nothing good, bro.
Hold up. Did you see that? Watch.
Still worth it to vote.
Like, Trump presidency's nothing good, bro.
What's the smirk? What's...
I think it was still worth it to vote.
Like, Trump presidency's...
Look at that. What's that mean? He's got the white skin, the curly Jew hair. I'm not even going to say my opinion.
It's nothing good, bro.
Channel 5 Live Worldwide, Hollywood and Vine.
Oh, shit.
Channel 5 News. Channel 55. We don't fuck with clusters. And 5 is the best number.
Next question. Did the world end 4 years ago? Okay, then.
Hey, that was actually a good point to the anti-Trumpers. Did the world end 4 years ago? No. It was actually better than it is now.
So that's the way a lot of people see it. Yep. No, I mean, he's right about that. We're supporters. No, I feel like here's what's kind of crazy about it, right? is that you remember the way it was in 2016. A lot of y'all remember that. People were losing their fucking minds. I feel like now people are like the amount of hysteria about this is way less. It was so much more than before. Yeah, 2016 was huge. It was massive, man. Yeah, not even 1%. Yeah, world is healing. I just feel like, I think also one of the big reasons why is because people accepted that it was going to happen before it happened. So like everybody went into it with the expectation that like, yeah, this is probably what the outcome is going to be. I'm going to link you guys this video. Channel 5 is amazing. Make sure to give them a sub. They had to rebuild their entire fucking channel.
Follow NewZ Source.